Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Alan Ruff and Tam McManus join me, Peter Martin, for the next 60 minutes. We're going to talk football in Scotland and down south in the English Premier League. You can give us your view. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because so many people are doing it, Ruffy. We're getting more and more subscribers. More and more people joining us want the content 24/7. There's lots of things they can tune into as well as the Football Show.
Yeah, it certainly is. If you go on your iPhone, you can get all the news, the signings.
See, reading that off a place. I was just saying, did you get that? That's fantastic.
Oh, you just flick through, you get all the transfers, all the news of every club, even in England as well.
Yeah, magic.
Don't need to buy a paper.
There you are.
You've been rehearsing that, haven't you?
Well, I have to tell you, Ruffy, you are honestly the guy that I teamed up with 10 years ago to the guy we have now is completely and utterly different. It's fantastic. Who can forget, as I call it, that first year, the mannequin years, when he just sat there and let it. No, it was unbelievable. Ruffy, great to have you here because, quite simply, we love weekends like this. It's Celtic against Rangers. Does it get any better?
No, it doesn't. You know, particularly when the two of them are playing well. Rangers doing particularly well in Europe and in the league as well, as are Celtic. Both of them winning games quite comfortably, scoring a lot of goals. So tomorrow, everybody's expecting a big goal-scoring game, you know, and the way that both of them are playing, you wouldn't put it past the two of them. So we'll just have to wait in anticipation to see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to Johnny who joins us, Billy, Lee, Bob, Stephen as well, Andrew Davison. Great to have you guys joining. Anne Wood, always there, and to say hi to Peter, Tam and Ruffy. We love so many of you. Tommy is always on in Thailand. Tommy must actually just down tools and think, right, there's an hour in Thailand where I'm quite simply going to join the troops and enjoy the crack. Is that fair, Ruffy?
Yeah, it's great. And I have to say, if Tommy does at any time invites us, we need to go.
It
is absolutely magnificent.
Yes.
The sightseeing there is just eye-catching.
Yeah.
That's the only word I can say.
Could we honestly go,
the balls out there?
Could we go to Tommy in Thailand? Could we go there and do a show from Thailand? That would be magnificent, wouldn't it?
That'd be great. I'd like to go and visit all the beaches and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. The heat, could you handle it?
Yeah,
no
problem.
Absolutely fantastic.
Get us over,
yeah, absolutely. If you can organise that, Tommy, that would be absolutely sensational. And you know, there's lots of people from Donegal tuning in to us as well. Hi to Stephen, hi to Hugh Scott, Ronnie Chapman. Lots of people all enjoy, and Gordon Herriot's in Thailand as well. So that's two houses we could stay in that area because there's lots of people from all across the country want to tune in. Give us your prediction. It's as simple as that. Who's going to win the big one, Celtic or Rangers? Will it be a draw? Are there going to be goals in the game? Will it be one of those situations where we are going to hype it up shortly and then all of a sudden flat as a pancake? Or are we about to witness a goals fest? All you have to do is tell us, who do you think is going to win it? Give us your prediction on the score. We'll read out as many of them as we possibly can. And remember, on a weekend like this, try and keep it as sensible as you possibly can. We'll read out some of your messages that have been coming in as well, and we'll look at the transfer window too, because quite simply, lots of clubs were active trying to get one or two or three players in, and more than a few players out as well. So we'll discuss that too. Here's the fixtures for the weekend, because not only Celtic and Rangers, there's some good games to look forward to elsewhere. Celtic and Rangers the early kick-off, but you've got Hibs against Kilmarnock, Livingston Hearts, Motherwell Dundee United, Ross County against Aberdeen, and St Johnstone against St Mirren. We'll hear from our reporter Adam Binney, who's out there at the Hibs training ground in Trinent. We'll also be joined very shortly from Celtic Park by our reporter Kerry Pollock. So the build-up, I can't get it any better for you than just getting ready at the key grounds to hear what's happening in the west and the east, as well as looking north to what Aberdeen, the likes of Ross County, will be doing with their sides and the new faces that they've got in there. So with that in mind, congratulations first of all to Ange Postecoglou. 4 wins, 19 goals scored, 1 conceded, manager of the month for August.
Yeah, I'm shocked by that.
What?
Do you think Jack Ross should have got it?
No, obviously the play that Celtic have been turning on, particularly in the league, has been impressive. And I think if you ask any team that's played them, they know how difficult it is to play against them. That's why tomorrow is really exciting. This is the test. I think they're so far ahead of everybody else. Let's see how far ahead, if they are ahead of Rangers, and we'll find that out tomorrow.
Yeah, listen, every manager wants to try and get players in, and Ange Postecoglou has certainly made moves towards getting players in, and more than a few out. When you look at it, I mean, it's incredible when you look at the players that he's managed to get in and then ship more than a few off the wage bill, Tam. And I'm looking here since the window was open: 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21 players out. Celtic have managed to get 21 players out, either permanently or on loan, which is incredible to allow them to bring in 9 players.
Yeah, I think the squad was bloated before Ange Postecoglou came in. I think he's done a great job in trimming not only the squad but probably the wage bill. He's managed to get rid of a lot of players who wouldn't probably be regulars, and he's brought in more quality. You look at the depth that Celtic have got now, it's night and day compared to this time last season, when I think Celtic lost the first 3 of the 6 league games. So they're in a much better position a year on than they were a year ago, and that's all credit to Ange Postecoglou and the recruitment team at Celtic.
Yeah, and Rangers equally so. Ruffy, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst wanted to try and add quality to the starting 11 as well as that bench. He managed to get 7 players in the door, and going out the way, there's been all sorts of speculation, but in the end he ended up with 15 players going out, some on loan, some of them just moving away permanently. There was speculation that Glenn Kamara could have been one of those players on his way, but that didn't quite materialise, and it maybe curtailed him looking to bring in one coming in the other way.
Yeah, well, both of the managers have assessed the squad that they've inherited, and they've looked at it seriously, and the decisions they've made are they going to be first team players for me? And the ones that aren't going to be first team players are out the door, and that's why you've seen both of them got quality players now, not only on the park but in the bench as well, and that's what makes it so exciting. So no, both managers have identified a lot better quality than what they had.
Yeah, I think I'm looking here at Johnny, who says no excuses, the best team will win, and Gallant says not always, Johnny. And I think even just reading up and people who are exchanging thoughts on the big match, sometimes the best team doesn't win, Tam.
No, sometimes you don't get what you deserve in football. Over the 90 minutes, some key decisions might go against you. You might get a little unlucky break of the ball. How many times have we seen in the past in Old Firm games where it's been a smash and grab? The best team hasn't won. So I think it's all about being clinical and taking your chances on the day. I think that both teams will create a lot of chances. I don't think that back fours, back threes of either team is particularly really solid at the minute. So I think that whoever is clinical in front of goal and creates and scores the goals will win the game. And I think Celtic have got more goals in their team. That's why I've went for Celtic to win the game. I think when you look at the Celtic team in the wide areas and the strikers, they've got so many goals in their team. Abada, might not even play, coming off a hat-trick last week. So whoever plays for Celtic and whoever they bring on, I think they've just got more goals in them than Rangers.
Yeah, well, I think the one key element of this, Ruffy, is the fact that both managers will realise this is not just about the starting 11, this is about the squad, because that's what it's turned into. It's turned into a squad game now.
Yeah, it certainly has, and both of them have used their squads in Europe and at home. You saw it the other night with Celtic. I think it was about 8 or 9, wasn't there? Just thrown in there, and even in big games, if things are done and dusted in the 55th minute, he'll take 3 or 4 off, and put another 3 or 4 on, because the game's won. And Rangers likewise as well, they've got a vast on that bench as well, and people coming on and turning the game or winning the game. So I don't think there'll be a lot between the two of them tomorrow. It'll just be interesting to see the team lines.
Yeah, here's the squad depth, Tam. Celtic, first of all, and what they've got in every position. And you can see there the 3 goalkeepers, Hart, Siegrist, Bain. But at the back end, you've got Carter, Vickers, Starfelt, Jens and Welsh. And then Juranovic, Ralston, Taylor, Bernabe. And then in that middle area, they've obviously Oliver Abelgard has just been added in a loan deal late last night with McGregor, McCarthy, Moy, Ideguchi. Then it's Jota, Abada, Forrest, Maeda, Haksabanovic, Hatate, O'Reilly, Turnbull, and Kyogo and Giacomakis. I mean, that is some squad.
I think from midfield to front, I think Celtic are stronger. I think they've got more options. I think in terms of the back four with Celtic, you could argue that Rangers are just as strong defensively than Celtic, if not a little bit stronger. But from midfield to front, I mean, you look at that pool of players, Hatate, O'Reilly, Turnbull, Kyogo, Giacomakis in the wide areas. You've got three there, Jota, Abada and Forrest, who've all got goals in them. Maeda and obviously the new signing we've yet to see a lot of. So I just think that Celtic's midfield to front are a lot stronger than Rangers now, squad wise.
Yeah, well, you look at Rangers, and I think a lot of Rangers fans will look at their squad depth and say to themselves, well, this is a side that managed to get to a European final, Ruffy. McLaughlin, McGregor, McCrory, Golson, Davis, King, Sands, Helander, Suter, Tavernier, Devine, Barisic, Yilmaz, Lundstrom, Kamara, Davis, Jack and McCann, Wright, Matondo, Kent, Sakala, Tillman, Lawrence, Arfield, Hadji, Lowry, Morales, Cholak, Roof and Ewer. So some of them don't feature, but there's a lot of key players in there that have got them to a European final, and he's added players.
Yeah, I think defensively, if Rangers were up against it, I think defensively, I think they're a wee bit stronger than Celtic, because they've been there in Europe and they've done it. They've had to defend and defend properly against quality sides. But as Tam said, if you take just the middle to front, I think Celtic get far more goal scorers in their team than Rangers, and on wide areas. And it's the wide areas that I think Rangers will be worried about. I mean, Tavernier's for the first time is going to have a real winger up against him. So I wouldn't anticipate him charging up and down the park, because he's got duties to do defensively. So on the wide areas, I think Celtic are where they'll cause problems, but it's just their movement up front with Kyogo and even Maeda as well. They're so sharp, and Rangers will have to. I think Rangers will have to sit in and try and pick them off, because they've got players. I mean, if Ryan Jack turns it on, we know he can be a match winner, but like Tam, I just think Celtic have got more goal scorers.
I think when you look in the wide areas in those graphics as well, that Celtic have got not only more options but more goals in their team. Ryan Kent, 2 goals, I think 2 league goals last season. Abada scored a hat-trick already this season. I think Rangers are heavily reliant on Kent turning up and Cholak and maybe Lawrence, to get your goals. I think Celtic have.
And it's a blow because Lawrence is out.
Lawrence is out, so you're relying on Rangers are relying on maybe 2 players tomorrow in the game. In Celtic, I've got even Turnbull, who can't get a game, is liable to pop up with a goal. Abada, Forrest scored. The 2 strikers, Giacomakis and Kyogo. I think Celtic they're too strong in that forward area. Yeah,
Ange Postecoglou reckons with this squad, he can battle it out domestically and in Europe.
Everyone I've spoken to about him from a character perspective says, he's an outstanding person, as well as experienced and good player. I think will fit in well with us, and it just rounds off our squad. I think we're coming out of the window now. We've got a squad that I think is strong enough now to sort of be able to compete on all the fronts we need to.
Yeah, Ange Postecoglou there, I think really at the start, talking about Oliver Obligard and how he's going to be a real addition for them as well, because he's more a battler in the middle of the park as well for them. So, you've got the likes of McGregor, who's for me that player who joins it all together, but there's somebody you need in there. It's not quite a water carrier, but it's somebody that needs to put the bid in.
No, but I would say particularly away from home in Europe. Celtic had it with Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon used to sit in front of the back four and just get the ball, break up attacks, get to somebody else, and if this is what this guy does, maybe he's got Europe in mind, but I just feel that the pace and the fitness of the Celtic boys, I think that's why he needs as many players as possible, because they're going to get burnt out. You can't keep playing at that pace for 90 minutes, and people like McGregor last year, who played 70, 80 games, counting the Scotland games as well. These guys need a break, and that's why he's trying to get as many players in as possible to give these guys a wee bit of a respite.
Yeah. As far as Rangers are concerned, the team used from this afternoon is that blow about Tom Lawrence. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst had this to say on the players that he has available. Alfredo Morales is in the squad for tomorrow. I had a good chat with him. He understood the message and has been training very hard. He's an important player for us. Alfredo is a player who can change games. It's never a good feeling to miss big games. Tom Lawrence has had a great start to his Rangers career and is unfortunate he will miss the next couple of weeks. We still have to perform with the strong squad we have available. And with that in mind, if he's trained really hard this week, you know, Morelos could be one of those players, Tam, who makes a contribution coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think that Rangers are still light. You know, Kamar Roof, I think, is still injured. They're just coming back from injury, and you know, you're heavily reliant on Čolak. You know, and I think having Morelos on the bench, you know, fit and firing, ready to come on for the last 20-25 minutes would give Rangers a boost. Particularly if you're behind in the game, you can maybe go two up front. You can maybe play them up front with Čolak, who I think that would be a good partnership. And so I think that, yeah, I think they've got to try and strengthen the squad in that forward area, but he's a big loss, Lawrence. I think he's a huge loss. I think he's a guy who can score goals from midfield, and you know, you're probably looking at Arfield, I would think, maybe to come in, you know, to be that guy who can get up and support the striker, but because Lawrence was doing that, so I think that Scotty Arfield would possibly come into the team.
Yeah, picking the team at the best of times, Ruffy. Sometimes you can look at a predicted 11 and say, okay, this could be it. There might be the odd one here or there that changes. Here's a predicted Celtic 11. Listen, it could change. You never know what's happening behind the scenes. But Hart and goal, Juranovic, Carter-Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor, McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly, Jota, Maeda and Kyogo Furuhashi. What do you make of that side?
Yeah, well, it's a strong side. You have left 2 or 3 out that could make it just as strong.
You can only pick 11, you know that.
No, but if you'd left 3 or 4 out, you could have taken 3 or 4 out of that and put another 3 or 4 in, and they'd still be as strong.
Do you think that's close to the starting 11?
I'm not. You definitely sure about Starfelt playing?
No, I mean I have just read out messages from people.
I like the big boy. I like the new boy.
Gents. But he played during the week.
Yeah,
which would
suggest
that he was resting Starfelt.
Did Starfelt play?
Starfelt played.
Yeah,
Starfelt. Both of them started.
Yeah,
the one ducked for the corner.
Ruffy's got a bee in his bonnet about Starfelt, but I mean Jens or Starfelt, you know, I don't think Celtic fans will be thinking, oh, you know, one's in, one's out. You know, I think both of them have acquitted themselves.
I think I'll go with Jensen.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I think he's a better defender.
There's quite a lot of Celtic fans on here saying, no, Starfelt will start. You know, I mean, it's all about opinions. The manager knows best. He's watched them in training all this week. He'll have actually, up at Lennoxtown, set his stall out and said, look, this is the team that's going to start because I've watched Joel, and this is the one that's going to stick to this game plan. And even if he makes 9 changes, they all seem to know what the game plan is.
Yeah, I think that's what Celtic are probably their weakest in terms of depth, would be the centre half and defensive wise. So he could bring in gents, but Maeda, Abada, you know, that's again, you know, I think Abada's got more goals in him, but I think Maeda can play that high press. You know, he's like Duracell Bunny. He can just keep going and going and going. I think he maybe start the game to try and get after Rangers. So I think whoever Celtic plays is going to be strong. It's a strange
thing though, Ruffy, because quite simply you're looking at this Celtic side and their defence is miserly, to say the least.
Yeah, they're so far ahead in Scottish football. It's unreal. You saw the scores. You know, the scores don't lie when they come up against teams. Okay, you know, Hearts, you know, you would expect them to a better show, but they played a sort of a weakened side when Celtic played them. Rangers have been tested in Europe. Their defence has been tested big time because of the teams that have been playing. They're all far superior than the Scottish teams. Celtic have to come up against that. That's what I'm looking at.
Well, I'm just pointing out things here because I'm playing the devil's advocate in the middle here, Ruffy, but towards the end of last season as well, it was difficult to score against them. This is not the opening games of this season. This is the tail end of last season.
The Scottish teams.
Yeah.
You know, the quality that the Scottish teams have got are nowhere near the quality that Rangers have been playing in Europe.
Okay, point taken. Now look at this Rangers starting 11. We're going to be going to speak to our reporter Kerry Pollock in a minute, but look at this Rangers starting 11 and it maybe backs up your point. McLaughlin, Tavernier, Golson, Sands and Barisic, Lundstrom, Davis, Wright, Tillman, Kent and Čolak. And that back line has, I mean, even the boy Sands is now coming onto a game. So are you happy with that back line?
Yeah, I'm happy with the back line, but again, you know, what I'm trying to say is they haven't been tested with the players that Celtic have got.
Yeah.
You know, the European style of football is different to the way that Celtic play. Celtic just go for go for it.
What point are you trying to make, Ruffy? I've lost now. I'm gone.
I'm trying to. Rangers have never come up against two wingers in Europe, two out-and-out wingers. That's what I'm saying. They've not come up with the teams that have played with that kind of style and that pace, and with midfield buzzing about all over the place and making.
PSV
PSV played I would say Celtic would beat PSV.
What about the boy Gakpo? Man United were going to sign him for an absolute fortune there.
Yeah,
PSV play with two wide men and the striker.
They were rotten.
Well, with all due respect, I think Rangers made them look rotten, to be honest with you. With that in mind, Tam, before we go to Kerry, I know you said you think Celtic's going to win, but is it a case of, is it about where's the strength and where's this game going to be won then, in your mind? Because I'm looking at all the feed here of people who are making their predictions, making it on the basis of, who played, who they played against, the strength that Rangers, as Ruffy has rightly pointed out. But again, we've now got a situation where we know Celtic will get stronger and stronger and look really good going forward. Where's this game going to be won and lost?
I think it's in the forward areas. I think that for Rangers to go away to Eindhoven and keep a clean sheet, I think was, that's a very, very good clean sheet. I thought Sands was excellent. I thought Rangers' back four and goalkeeper were excellent. But they're going to need to put in that type of performance again, because Celtic are going to come flying out the traps. And if Rangers can keep it tight for the first 20-25 minutes, I think they've got a real chance of getting something out of the game, because I think that Celtic will go for it, in the first 15-20 minutes and try and get that early goal. And if they get the early goal with a full stadium behind them, I think it'd be very difficult for Rangers to get anything. So I think the game plan for Rangers will be try and keep it tight for the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then see if you can grow into the game. But I still fancy Celtic. Yeah,
out there at Celtic Park for us, I can tell you our reporter Kerry Pollock is already there. The turnstiles haven't opened yet, Kerry. You're going to wait there quite a long time. I hope you've got a tent with you. But everybody's talking here, and the fans have been putting messages out on our YouTube. Just it seems to be all about the two managers and their team selection.
Yep, that's exactly it, Peter. Before I go on to the key players within both sides, the excitement surrounds these games, and maybe a little bit of anxiety as well for the fans. Some love these fixtures and some not so much. But looking at the key players for both sides, starting with the home side, Celtic, Jota, Abada and Kyogo have been their top goal scorers this season so far. 13 goals in 6 games between the three of them. But now moving on to Rangers, we could have some Derby debuts within the Rangers squad. Malik Tillman, he's been a favourite. He's great in the air, so when it comes to set pieces, corners, free kicks, etc., they'll be looking to him. And Antonio Cholak has hit the ground running in that Rangers jersey. He scored 7 goals in 10 games for Rangers. But I don't know if you've discussed it already, Peter. Tom Lawrence, he looks as if he's going to miss the game tomorrow. The manager said that he's not fit for it, and he'll be out until the end of the international break.
Yeah, that's a point we've just this minute discussed about Lawrence. It is a huge blow. Of course, both these managers know that it gives a huge confidence boost, Kerry, to the team. If you can get a Glasgow Derby win early on in the season, it just lifts everybody. And Ange Postecoglou, manager of the month, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst will be hoping they can get something positive just to lift all the fans, because 5 points for Celtic would be huge. Rangers, if they could come away with 3 points there, suddenly it's all neck and neck again.
Yep, let's just have a look at the manager's stats just now. Both appointed in 2021. Ange Postecoglou a little bit earlier in the July, Giovanni Bronckhorst in Barceau. Ange Postecoglou been in charge of 5 games against Rangers, 1 lost to results, and
we'll try and come back to Kerry. We've just lost her there. I think Celtic have turned off the Wi-Fi. Realising somebody was broadcasting from there. We'll get back to Kerry on that. But again, she's mentioned there the boyo that Hugh highlighted in Cholak, that he didn't think. He thought he would maybe do things domestically but not in Europe. Cholak has just been he's an instant fan's favourite, even with the troubles of Morelos.
Yeah, I think you have to remember he's an international player. You know, he's not just a young guy who's come into the team. He's got quality. He's scored goals wherever he's played.
Yeah, Ruffy, just need to go back there because, you know, the last thing we need is that satellite. I mean, Tam gave Kerry a satellite dish and said, look, this will work anywhere. So Kerry, you were talking there, and if you can go back over it, the managers, the record going into this one.
Yep, the managers, I'm not sure what happened to the signal there. Hopefully that doesn't happen during the game tomorrow. The managers, Ange Postecoglou, he's been in charge of 5 games against Rangers in his time here at Celtic. He's won 2, lost 2 and drew 1, which was the last result here at Celtic Park. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst in charge of just 1 less than Ange Postecoglou. He's been in charge of 5 Old Firm games in his time at Rangers. He's won 1, drew 1 and he's lost 2. But the big question is, Peter, will Ange Postecoglou start with that high intensity, that high energy that they hit teams with in the first 10-15 minutes of games? Will Rangers adapt a similar style? Will they keep that high back line? Will they attack Celtic? Or will Rangers adopt their season? Will they go a little bit more defensive and pick Celtic out on the counter? It's always going to be interesting to see how both of these sides start off tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Kerry one more question, but that point that she's just posed there, Tam, is the great unanswered question. You know, everybody is expecting, as Kerry pointed out, Ange, attack. Will Rangers think, well, let's go for it, or is it sit in, soak the pressure up, pick them off?
No, I think the Rangers will go for Celtic as well. I don't think you can sit in against Celtic. I think that the weakest part of Celtic's team is their defence. I think from midfield to front they are very, very strong. So I think if you're Rangers, Van Bronckhorst, you try and get after Celtic as much as possible in the first 15-20 minutes and try and get that first goal. Yeah,
Kerry, sometimes we like a wee bet here and there. I know I was ecstatic, Ruffy, when I won money on Aldenite in the early 80s in the Grand National. But Kerry, where's the money going for this one? What are the bookies saying about who's going to win this Old Firm derby?
Well, let's have a look at it just now. This is the one that everybody likes to get their teeth into, Celtic against Rangers. So the bookies are leaning slightly more towards Celtic right now. If you want them to win here tomorrow, 17-20 you'll get them at. But if you fancy Rangers to nick the point home, they are 3-1, and for the draw, the same as last time, they are 11-4. But as well, Peter, people like to make their betting a little bit more interesting, maybe get a little bit more money out of bookies. If you want Kyogo to get the first goal here tomorrow, get his 7th goal of the season, he's at 7-2. And for Rangers, Antonio Cholak, as I said, he's hit the ground running to score first in the game tomorrow. Get him at 15-2. But as we know, we've seen it before, defenders love to get involved in goal scoring in this fixture, so it'll be interesting to see who opens it up tomorrow.
Yeah, great stuff from Kerry out there at Celtic Park. Thanks for putting 10 bob in the meter, Kerry. Absolutely superb. And over and above that, she's just set it up beautifully, because first goal, is it Cholak or Kyogo? Are they the two red hot ones, Ruffy, like Kerry mentioned there, that you would be putting your money on?
Yeah, I think both sets of fans would choose these two to be the goal scorers. They're on form just now. I think Ennan in the box, the two of them are so sharp. They're on it very, very quickly. And I think we're just getting so excited about the game, you know, we just want to see how it goes, you know, I can't wait, you know, because we're all talking about how we see it and how they think they're playing and that, but it's on the day. It's on the day who big players who perform and big players who don't perform. We rub of the green here and there. Celtic have got home advantage, you know, that's a big say in the game. I'm sure if Rangers were at home, they would fancy themselves as well with their full crowd behind them. So, you know, I think we're all anticipating a really, really good game.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff from Kerry out there at Celtic Park, just setting the scene for us, because as a derby, you know, the fans absolutely love it. It starts early in the morning for Rangers and Celtic fans, Tam. There's a lot of people actually set out. There are two sets of supporters that I always think about when it comes to Celtic and Rangers. The Celtic and Rangers expats who, because of the time difference, get up early in the morning. I mean, you all have to look at New York. They'll head to the Rangers pub or their Celtic pub. And then, of course, Australia and Canada, New Zealand, people all head to them. And, of course, Ireland. You know, you've got Rangers and Celtic fans who suddenly, if lucky enough to get a ticket, are on the boat early in the morning to get across.
Yeah, the 12:30 kickoff. I can remember I actually stayed in New York and played in New York for a year, and I was up at 7:30. It was 5 hours behind, so I think, you know, Western time. So No, it's great. All these supporters all over the world will be getting up at all hours of the morning or at night to watch this fixture. It's one of the biggest fixtures in the world, you know, and there's no many derbies that come close to this in terms of the passion of the supporters and how important the games are. So we're all looking forward to a cracking game. Let's hope we're not talking about the referees. Let's hope we're talking about good play, good players turning up, good football, good goals, and we're not talking about a refereeing decision or something that maybe happened during the game.
Am I right in saying that the ferries coming from Ireland...
You're not seriously going to ask us about ferry times and the movement?
No, I'm talking about the fans, the sets of fans. Surely there must be some arrangement, you know, for both sets of fans coming over with the ferries. Surely they're not on the same boat.
Do you know what, Ruffy?
I think there is I think there's some.
Oh, there's a Rangers ferry and a Celtic
maybe
ferry.
Somebody can tell us. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Yeah.
I think somebody told me that once.
Is that right?
That they have to make arrangements.
Yeah.
You know.
The Rangers ferry is boarding now.
Let's come over together. You know?
You know what, Ruffy?
It's not coming over, it's coming back, I think.
Ruffy, I have never actually thought about that. It's such a good
somebody
point.
from Stena told me that there is some kind of arrangement they put on.
Is that right?
For the Old Firm games. Because all you get,
you-
man overboard!
Can you imagine the security in the middle of the boat going back the way? Tom going back the way is the perfect situation. I mean, I never thought about that, Ruffy, but I'm sure somebody will be telling us about that. But nevertheless, it's a wonderful derby. I'm going to ask you for your predictions on it. Thank you to so many of you who've offered. Fuji says it's the same ferry, Ruffy. No, I wouldn't be on it for love nor money. Anyway, thanks to so many of you who've given your predictions for the game. That's fantastic. Tommy, who's in Thailand, says it's a 6:30 kickoff here at night. So that's all right. You know, a couple of jars, Tommy, and then there you are.
When was the last time a Celtic Rangers game was on a Saturday? There's always been a Sunday.
So? It's been a Sunday, yeah, it's been a Sunday.
I think a Saturday's people know work the next day. At least on a Sunday, people are home at a reasonable hour. But 12:30 kickoff.
You
finished at 2:30.
Yeah, you don't want any.
Saturday.
You don't want any trouble. And the good thing, I think, the positive thing now, Ruffy, is you know, everybody loves to talk about the derby. There's a real. I don't know if people like to just look at it for the poisoned aspect of it, but people love to look in, and a lot of former English players, you know, say that they desperately want a ticket for it because everybody talks about it. It used to be one of the best derbies in the world, but we've put together a little social media video that's going out tonight. That comes up with the top 10 derbies in the world. I was just wondering if you think you'd be able to give us the top 10 and their positions. We've all looked at it and we've all put them in position of the top 10 derbies.
Can I say Thistle Clyde?
I would go Real Madrid, Barcelona.
That's not a derby.
Barcelona, Espanyol.
AC Milan, Inter Milan.
AC Milan, yes.
Okay.
Have you got any others, Tam? Fire in with a few.
Boca
River Plate. It was a fantastic derby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hearts Hibs.
Hearts. you having Hearts Hibs, Ruffy? No.
Liverpool Man United. Liverpool Everton.
Liverpool-Everton is a good derby.
It would be a London one.
Yeah. Can you
Chelsea.
West Ham Chelsea.
West Ham Chelsea. Would you go with that one? Would you ahead of Spurs Arsenal?
I think the West Ham Chelsea's a bit.
Spurs Chelsea.
West Ham Chelsea's a derby. That's a.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to give you the top 10 in order? Yeah.
Is that right? There you go.
Right. Okay. The top 10 that we've come up with for the derby in 10th position now. This is the best derbies across the whole world for obvious reasons. So
there's going to be a Turkey one.
There is. Good shout, Ruffy. With the flag. Soonest with the flag. Right. So at number 10 for the 10th best derby in the world for going to see is Celtic against Rangers or Rangers against Celtic.
Who put this list together?
We put it by committee. Well, it's no.
You can Celtic Rangers be 10th.
You only allowed 750 fans the away support. It's no longer a big derby. It's two petty-minded clubs who have reduced their away support because it's 10th now. You want the fans there. You want away fans there.
Do not put an English fixture in front of that.
You want the fans
Aye,
there.
but don't put an English fixture in front of Celtic Rangers.
10 Celtic Rangers. Oh, we don't want fans in here because just in case we get battered and we don't want to hear them all shouting.
Say we were back to what we were. Where would they be if it was
second? Ruffy, I'm glad you asked that question.
Right.
They'd be second.
Right, okay.
They'd be second.
Right.
But of course, you've got two boards who are petty-minded now, so they're 10th.
Okay, right.
Right, okay. Ahead of them, Spurs, Arsenal, Manchester City, Man United.
A tourist.
Still fans in there. The big support allowed in. None of this Celtic and Rangers. Oh, we're only allowing 750 in. You know, because we don't like the narrative here. Tit for tat stupidity. And a big thanks and a big shout out to Leon Dempster who started this nonsense. City United, 7th, Inter against AC. It's a big one. Liverpool against Everton. Real against Atletico Madrid. The Madrid derby. Red Star against Partizan in Belgrade. Volatile to say the least, Ruffy. At number 3, Galatasaray against Fenerbahce.
Yep.
And then number 2, Roma against Lazio.
Okay.
And the top one, River Plate against Boca.
Okay.
And by the way,
How's Hearts not in there?
since what?
It's a bigger derby than City v United.
I love that derby. And by the way, since I put that, Johnny says Olympiacos against Panathinaikos. It's a good shout as well. Yep, and since I put this out, people are going...
Surely again,
they're all going mental. Of course I am. Of course I am.
Get him hammered on the
Of course, I don't mind
Nonsense.
getting hammered because, of course, you've got two boards with petty-minded people who can't let a huge away support in. And, of course, some people who say it's all about demand and that's why there's more of the home supporters there, which is a crock of nonsense because they just don't want away supporters celebrating a goal, Ruffy, in great numbers, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
Come on, it's 10.
No, I can see.
It's 10.
I can
Let
see
the
it for your own
supporters in.
club.
Used to be a great. I can remember going to a derby, and Derek Johnson scored at Celtic Park, right? And I'll tell you, do you know what was amazing about it, Tam? Derek Johnson scored in a derby match. I'll never, because I used to sit next to DJ and I say, what was going through your head? Derek Johnson scored in a derby match and ran over to the jungle and gave it this to annoy him. And I said, what was going through your head? He says, quickly run the other way after I'd done it. But when he scored, I don't know if you remember, Ruffy, but at Celtic Park, because it wasn't the seats, but when he scored, there was about 7,000 or 8,000 Rangers fans, and all you heard was this, a second delay as the ball hits the net, and then it's like, and it's an incredible sound. And the other time I've heard that was the 2-2 game, and McAvenny gets sent off. I think Richard Gough scored, and it was against Knight. There were 9 men on the park for Rangers, and Richard Gough scored a goal, and the noise was outrageous at Ibrox. From the home support, and then equally so, Paul Lambert scored the third goal in the 6-2 game, and honestly, you'd have thought the roof was coming off the place. These are things that happen in derby matches. Even when the opposition scored, Neil McCann scored in the infamous game with Hugh Dallas, sadly. But those games are unbelievable. But the away supporters enjoy their goals, the home supporters enjoy them, and there was a good, healthy set of supporters there.
I have to agree with you 100%. I mean, I played for 20 years, so I was never at a Rangers Celtic game, never seen one in my life. And then all of a sudden I come to the media, and my first game that I went to was at Ibrox, the Rangers Celtic one. Celtic had the whole stand to the left, you know, and Rangers had everything else, and the atmosphere would blow you away. I mean, you weren't really... You were taking in what was happening on the park.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have mattered whether it was a bad game or a good game, because the fans made it. Both sets of fans made the whole day for me, because I'd never been to one before, and I was blown away when I saw it.
You've missed one of the biggest derbies off of that.
Go on then.
Derry City v Linfield.
It's another good derby, yeah.
One that I scored in at Windsor Park, and the first thing that came through my mind was, how am I getting out of Belfast tonight?
Yeah,
because I celebrated exuberantly.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you to so many people who are talking about it, you know, simple as that. You know, there's your top 10. You can agree or disagree. It's a great noise up. Here's your predictions. Tam McManus, who's winning it?
3-1 to Celtic.
Ruffy?
I think Celtic have just got more firepower than Rangers. I've went Celtic 2-1.
Okay, you got that in your predictor?
Yes.
Okay, I've got Celtic to win by 2-0. It's all about opinions. Lots of people have given us their opinions. Thank you very much to each and everyone who on the feed here who've offered their opinion on that. As well as Celtic Rangers Hibs against Kilmarnock, I can tell you, players coming in and out. We're going to get Tam's thoughts on it. Our reporter Adam Binney was out there this afternoon at the Hibs training centre at Trinent.
Thanks, Peter. I'm outside of the Hibernian Training Centre this afternoon ahead of their match tomorrow against Kilmarnock in the Scottish Premiership. The big news coming out of Hibs this morning is that tomorrow they will be without manager Lee Johnson in the dugout. That's after he had to undergo surgery to remove his gallbladder. The man who will replace him in the dugout is assistant manager Jamie McAllister. We caught up with him this afternoon to learn more about Lee's illness.
He's been unwell for the last 10 days or so you know something wasn't right. There was an infection there and they've removed his gallbladder, so he was a bit groggy and not great yesterday because it's supposed to be an hour and a half up and it took over 3 hours, so nearly 4 hours. But he's bubbly today, so he's back in action. It
was a busy night last night for Hibs as well. They announced 3 signings: Harry McCurdy, Will Fish and Mikola Kukarevich. Despite his illness, manager Lee Johnson was still the one very much calling the shots.
Yeah, he was constantly involved in it, yeah. Obviously the gaffer got the final say and everything, so can't keep him down. I think he was getting into trouble for using his phone at the hospital and stuff. Everything. But no, we were communicating with him, and myself and the coaching staff were in yesterday all day, all the way through the morning till night to get the deals done.
Huge match for Hibs tomorrow. They host Kilmarnock. If you'd like to stay up to date with the match, I'll be there. You can follow live updates on our Facebook and Instagram stories as well as our Twitter thread. But for now, it's back to you in the studio, Peter.
Yeah, Adam, out there in the lovely area of Trinent ahead of that big game as well. And of course, what do you make of it? Fish, McCurdy and Kukarevich, Tam?
Please don't.
No, first, you're going to do your gag?
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. No,
give us one fish gag.
One, come on.
They must have the caster net far and wide to get him in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or
I think Hibs is a place for him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're happy with that. No, that should get you another gig before the end of the year. Listen, seriously, I think Hibs needed players in. I think McCurdy's the one that will catch the eye for Hibs supporters. 20 odd goals in the last couple of seasons for Swindon, can play off the left or off the right. A defender, I would have preferred a more experienced defender. It's another young defender in from Man United, Fish, and you know, a striker from Ukraine that nobody's heard of, Kukarevich. So again, I think a couple of gambles in terms of the young players, but I think McCurdy's the one that I'm looking forward to seeing. I think he's got a bit about him, and I think you need a wee bit of arrogance, a wee bit of confidence to play at a club like Hibs. You know, puff the chest out and think you're a good player, and I think he's got that. So I'm looking forward to seeing McCurdy. Yeah, what have you gone for then in the game? I think I've went for 2-0 or 2-1 to Hibs. I think I fancy Hibs to beat them. Ruffy?
I think it's got to be a Hibs win. I think no more excuses for this manager. He keeps coming out and giving us this and giving us that and everything. So well, cut him a bit of slack. He's in for a gallbladder, operation at the moment. We've got to wish him the very best, speedy recovery. Wish you all the best, but I hope you win them all. Get your finger out. Sorry. Because Tam might know more than me. I think the fans are getting a bit desperate now. You know, they've been told it's got to be this, it's got to be that, and it's not happening. Okay, I can't separate them. I've gone for Hibs 1, Kilmarnock 1 in this one because I think slowly but surely, I don't agree with you, Ruffy. I think Kilmarnock will get it together. I think Derek McInnes is a good manager and he does get his sides well organised. I do have the fear that Tam mentioned for them though. I just don't know where they're going to get the goals. Doidge is not too dissimilar to Kyle Lafferty for me. I think they need something a wee bit different. Whether they get that or not, only time will tell. Livingston against Hearts. David Martindale's glad that the window has closed because he reckons that will focus the players' minds.
I think you've got young players in the building, or younger people than me, and I think it can play in their head sometimes. They listen to speculation, they're on social media, they're listening to social media, and I always reiterate to them, like, don't, until my phone rings and I speak to you, there's nothing happening. But I think when the window closes, it maybe refocuses players slightly, because in the back of their head, let's be honest, Livingston's a stepping stone. So everybody's probably waiting on that phone call that maybe pushes them up the ladder. So I'm going to say, probably it refocuses the players slightly, because I think with social media now, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of external noise around players' movement.
Yeah, so when the window closes, I think David Martindale basically saying players start to settle down and think, right, we've got a job to do now, we're part of the plans, we've got to try and force our way into the manager's thinking. But since David Martindale's been in here, Tam's just mentioned there, he hasn't won a game. We're like the kiss of death for him.
We'll phone him up and ask him if he wants to come in next Wednesday. See what he says, then you'll get a judge if he's thinking the same way.
Yeah, I'm looking at Hearts though, Ruffy. Apart from the obvious injuries, which has been a real blow to them, they've managed to get Stephen Humphreys in there to try and compensate for the loss of Boyce. And the injuries are the thing that's been a problem for Hearts, I think.
Yeah, I thought, apart from the injuries, I thought he was beginning to think they were a wee bit better than what they were, and leaving first team players out, thinking give them a rest. But I don't think they're that good yet that they can leave 3 or 4 out and expect to beat some of the sides. So I think he really needs to get back to, away for the injuries, playing his best 11.
Yeah.
I think if he plays his best 11, he's catching Livingston at the right moment, because they're just going through a wee wobble, as a lot of teams do throughout the season. So I think I went for Hearts to win 2-1.
Yeah, I've gone 2-1, Tam. What about you?
I think I went for a draw in that game. I think that Livingston on that pitch are a different kettle of fish. No many teams beat them there, so I think I went for Hearts 1 each.
Yeah, Motherwell against Dundee United. Well, Motherwell have steadied the ship with a manager that's popular with the fans, certainly popular with the players when you look at the results that they've managed to put in since Stephen Hamill has taken charge. He did mention he was going to be right up against it to try and get players in, and there was a few options that he revealed to the press today, but quite simply the biggest problem was trying to get them in a short space of time, although it looks as if he's managed to bring back an old favourite, Tam, in Louis Moult, because Louis Moult has just posted a photograph on his Instagram of him wearing a Motherwell top, and quite simply they've managed to get that deal in a loan move. So Moult is in there for Motherwell. He's back.
Yep. I think he was fantastic in his first spell at the club. Scored a lot of goals, got himself a good move down south, and I think that depends how fit. He's not played a lot of football. He's picked up a few bad injuries. I think he's only 30, 31, so he's still got a bit of time in his hands, but depends how fit he is. But if he can get anywhere near his first spell at Motherwell, then I think that Motherwell have won a watch.
Yeah, Stephen Hamill just revealed that they're exploring every avenue to try and strengthen the squad.
We tried to get some stuff done last night, all day yesterday, last night into the early hours this morning. That didn't quite happen, but we've still got some options we can explore, which we will do.
Yeah, there's always players who are out of contract, Ruffy, that can sign after a window closes.
Yeah, and they'll begin through the list. I'm sure
I think Snodgrass was the main one they were trying to get. Still available.
It'd be nice if they gave them an answer, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think the Players' Union down in England and in Scotland, after the window's shut, they release a lot of players that you can still sign. So they'll be scouring them, to see who he fancies. But I think the Louis Moult one must be because Hamill's there. I think that's possibly been the attraction, that he knows Hamill particularly well. And he obviously want to get back playing and scoring goals. But as Tam said, if he starts scoring goals the way he was scoring up here the first time he was there, maybe we scored a terrific goal in was it a cup final? Was it
Loved the goalkeeper against Rangers.
Yeah, against Rangers.
Super goal.
Yeah. Okay, what have you gone for?
I think I went for a draw.
Oh, did you? I've got Motherwell to win 2-1. Although the way things are going with Dundee United, talks will be ongoing to try and get themselves a manager. But we've already absolutely battered them this week, Tam, on the basis that suddenly they put in a performance the minute Jack Ross is out the door. I think they've cheated the fans. I think the players need to have a long, hard look at themselves.
Yeah, I said that when Jack got sacked. I mean, you can't sack 20 players. You can only sack the manager. He carries the can, and I'm sure Jack will be looking on during the week there and seeing they went 2-0 up early doors against Livingston, and think, where was that performance when I was a manager? Yeah. But sometimes that happens when a manager leaves and an interim manager comes in. Sometimes you get results. So great result from during the week, but they've got to keep putting that level of performance in and a level of a commitment to get them up the table.
I love reading out a lot of messages, by the way, and thanks to so many of you who've been posting messages. Obviously everybody likes to try and keep it as decent as possible, especially when you go into what I call a mental week like this when Celtic and Rangers lock horns. But I like Jimmy Duff. His point is, yes, we love proving you so-called pundits wrong. Rangers will win 2-1. And to be fair, Jimmy, that's the joy of this. It's about offering your opinion on who you think's going to win the game. Johnny says 3-2 to Rangers. Johnny, I tell you one thing, I share your viewpoint on the fact I think there's going to be goals, Ruffy. If this one ends, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make it.
Said nothing each.
If it ends 0-0, I'm taking you and Tam out for a slap-up meal, and I'll make sure that you get transport home so we can all have a drink.
It's good enough for me. What was your bet? Nothing each.
£100 to charity.
Yeah.
Cool.
What was yours?
What's yours?
What's yours?
I'm taking that chance. Nothing each.
Eh?
You say it's going to be nothing each.
No, I said if it is not. I said definitely going to be goals. What's your forfeit?
I'm not saying it's going to be nothing each. I'm just not taking
no.
part.
Yeah, you were going to play this game yesterday, and suddenly you've dropped
All
out.
right, if it's
finishes
nothing
0-0,
each,
what are you going to do?
If it's nothing each, I'll buy you some swimming lessons.
He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot. He really is. Why don't you buy?
It's not cost me.
Why don't you buy us an expensive bottle of wine for Liverpool Rangers? We're all going down to Anfield for that. We're going to be broadcasting from there.
What do you class as an expensive bottle of red wine?
50 quid.
£5.99.
50 quid. What about 50 quid? Can you go 50 quid? He's got 100 for charity.
£100 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I'll not be able to enjoy the game watching it.
I mean, he's taking it for the grub. Taxi same.
I'll take you out for a meal as well.
Well, there you are. That's fine.
Oh, come on, nothing each. Get 2 free meals in. I'm praying for a stinker now. Come on, 0-0.
No, it's never going to be 0-0. This one's going to be goals. Anyway, thanks to Jimmy for that point. And lots of people offering, Rangers will win, Celtic will win. That's the joy of it all. But to be perfectly honest with you, I cannot see this one finishing 0-0. And can I just point out here, Ross County against Aberdeen. The reason why I'm going to read this out is because it came in, Ruffy, and this boy has absolutely filleted us too. This is Kenny, who's in LA, who watches the programme regularly. Thanks, Kenny, for supporting the programme. We really do appreciate your support, even though you're absolutely battering us. Peter, you and Ruffy are just Don's haters. Who said we were going to be the team to beat outside the Old Firm? To be the team outside the Old Firm? You guys said Hearts would be third by 12 points. Just watch out for them and United. Hearts didn't rest players last night. He was talking, of course, about that game where they lost to Kilmarnock. The nonsense you two talk about, you're obviously clearly not happy with what's happening at Aberdeen and what we make of it. He says, we're building a team at Pittodrie. It may take time, and we now have some great kids coming through that you lot will never mention. So there you are. Kenny is
spot on. Kenny
is.
I feel that way as well.
And he says Hearts, Jack Ross, great fit at United. Wrong. Kilmarnock will struggle. Wrong. Hearts are the best run club outside the Old Firm. Wrong. I could go on, but I'll keep tuning in. He says because I love the show. Yeah. So Kenny, calm down. We're only a few games in, and you've gone really strong there on a few things.
Well, you tell Kenny.
Yeah,
if Aberdeen beat Partick Thistle in the quarter-final cup, me and Peter will come over to LA and stay with you for a week.
That would be brilliant. Having just returned from LA, that sounds like a really good forfeit. Kenny, if you can, 2 single beds, separate rooms, that would be absolutely fantastic. And also, I'm going to read this out because Jan the Staggy sent this message to us. She says, hope you're doing well after the operation. Thanks for that, Jan. She said, I don't think Ross County disgraced themselves in midweek against Celtic, and I love the way that you absolutely batter Tam McManus with your slagging of him. I love that. She says, I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to say this, she says, or if it's construed as sour grapes after being defeated by Celtic, but she did say this, and I think it's a point which again will be so relevant tomorrow that I thoroughly cannot stand. Jan says she found the countless IRA chants from the Celtic fans pretty distasteful. Will they be fined for that? I do not know, Jan, is the answer, because quite simply, some of the songs that are sung at, Celtic Rangers, Rangers Celtic leave a lot to be desired. It's the one thing, thankfully, from my own point of view, we're not political on this show. We talk about the football and we realise that both clubs are football clubs. And we like to emphasise that it's football fans that should go to games and concentrate on supporting their team, Tam. It's the one thing that leaves a really sick taste in my mouth, having to listen to some of the vile chants that go on at the game.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about it for years and years, and we'll probably still be talking about it in 20, 30 years' time. You know, there's no need for it at games. Sing football songs. You know, there's no need to bring in political songs, because supporters of other clubs, you know, have no time for it at all. And I think it should be stamped out, but it won't be. You know, as long as it's not policed and nobody's getting dug out for it, then it's just going to continue, sadly.
Yeah, and I have to say this, and I think it's a pertinent point on this, is quite simply, people who do cross the line and sing some songs that are, against the law or abusive, the police do take action. Maybe not in as grand a scale as everybody would like, Ruffy, but they do take action. They do have CCTV cameras and they do make arrests. I think it would be, very lazy journalistically to suggest that the police do not take action against people who break the law for distasteful songs and conduct as well.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be, because if you would like to think that the people round about them who see one of their pals or two of their pals getting lifted by the police or later on lifted by the police, then they would learn a lesson. And the only way they are going to learn a lesson is if they get punished.
Okay, thanks for those points of view there. It is a game of football, it's not life and death. It's certainly there to be enjoyed, and I for one hope, whether you're going there as a Celtic or a Rangers fan, go support your team and get home safely. That is the key to it all. Ross County against Aberdeen, and by the way, Kenny, we're not Don's haters. You know, I really do like Jim Goodwin. I think he's a good manager, and I think he's twisted that team and turned it around, Tam. Whether it's enough and they'll get the consistent results, I don't know, but I've got them to edge it by a single goal against Ross County.
Yeah, I think I've went for a draw in that game, but I think Aberdeen will be good this season. You know, I wanted them to be good last year because my friend Stephen was in charge, but they weren't, unfortunately. But I think you need a strong Aberdeen up there. You need a strong Aberdeen up there challenging, as well as a Hearts and a Hibs. But I think he's right. I think they're building a team, and I think they've got some really talented players.
What are you going for?
I think I've went for one each.
I've went 4-0, Kenny, Ross County.
Yeah. What are you going for?
I went 2-1. 2-1.
2-1 Aberdeen.
Advantage. No, Ross County's my team.
That's brilliant. Jan the Staggy will be well.
Keep everybody happy. At least Jan's near.
Yeah, but to be perfectly honest with you, the odds on us being invited up to Dingwall to stay with Jan the Staggy or Kenny in LA. Hello, Dingwall, LA. Ruffy, I'm sorry.
No, Dingwall.
Yeah, okay. Well, there you are. Jan will undoubtedly send us a message. Last one, it's the Battle of the Saints, St Johnstone against St Mirren. Ali Crawford has just said it's time that McDermott Park was a ground that teams should be coming to with not a great hope of winning.
Well, like you said, they've won the last couple of games, so they've picked up a bit of momentum. So it's going to be a tough game, like any other game is going to be this season. It's a tough league, so us being at home, we need to make this a fortress and get the fans right behind us.
Yeah, well, Ali Crawford's saying there, you need to make McDermott Park a fortress. It was when they had a really good back line, because you only have to look back 2 seasons' time. We were all saying St Johnstone scored first. It was a tough afternoon to try and get a goal.
Unfortunately, they've lost some key players. Rooney, Kerr, Zander Clark. They've lost the real heart and soul of that back four. But I think they'll get a point. I think St Mirren are obviously on a great run, 3 out of 3. But I think that'll be a low scoring draw.
Okay, I've got St Johnstone 0, St Mirren 1. Ruffy, you?
I was impressed with St Johnstone last week against Hearts, so I'm going to stick my neck out for them to win 2-1 at home.
Okay, here's the English Premier League fixtures for you to look at that's happening over the weekend. Everton against Liverpool. That's going to be a fantastic game. Liverpool will win it, obviously. Brentford, Leeds United, Chelsea, West Ham, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Tottenham Hotspur, Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Aston Villa, Man City, Brighton, Leicester, and Manchester United against Arsenal. That used to be the game in the English Premier League. Oh, how the mighty United have fallen. You can give us your predictions.
Liverpool in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's only a matter of time. Calm your jets. Anyway, that's the English Premier League for you. All I would say to each and every one of you is Kerry returns tomorrow with Ruffy and Tam for the preview ahead of the big game on the Saturday. She'll be talking about all the other matches. Hopefully you can join us on our YouTube channel. It's 24/7 PLZ Soccer. There's lots more coming. There's competitions. There's going to be more programming. There's big news ahead and lots of things that you can get involved in as well with PLZ Soccer. First one, download the app and you'll get all the breaking stories across Scotland, England, European and world football as well. We hope that you enjoyed the show today. If you are going to the big match in Glasgow tomorrow, go there, support your team, do it the right way and go home safely. It is only a game of football, but we love it. From Tam, from Ruffy and from myself, Peter Martin, thank you to you for watching. Hit the subscribe button and join the football family at PLZ Soccer on our YouTube channel. Good night.